It's finals time here at the Apex Gaming Modern Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We got two players left in the tournament. Ross, why don't you give us a rundown of who these players are, what they're playing for, and what decks they're playing?
Well, we're going to see Chris Hafner here as our 5 seed in the top 8, playing Rakdos Scam against our 6 seed Josh Engel playing Creativity. But I gotta say, 6 seed is probably underselling Josh after this incredible run this weekend. As part of the team of Engel, Brunny, and Carpenter, took down the team AIQ yesterday and is once again in the finals, while both of his teammates were felled in the quarterfinals. So an incredible run from all three of those gentlemen this
One
weekend.
was also a team kill, wink wink, so.
Yes. But Josh Engel taking the cake for that team, playing Creativity both days. He was in the modern seat yesterday, guiding that team, or helping to guide that team to a trophy, and looking to come back and snatch both of them.
Yeah, I had what I would consider two okay matchups against the Yawgmoth players. Seemed to defeat them quite easily in the games that we watched, but now going to be facing off something maybe a little bit harder. This is Chris Hafner on Rakdos Scam and going to be on the play.
Yeah, so those grief scams are going to be incredibly important. We'll see if Hafter can come out with more explosive draws than Engel's Yawgmoth opponents, or if Engel just kind of cruises through the early turns, answering the threats, and then sets up a big creativity for multiple Archons at his leisure.
Alrighty, well, we are just about ready for the players to start our final match. So let's head on down to the feature match area and see who takes it down. We got Josh Engel on your right with Creativity. We got Chris Hafner on your left with Rakdos Midrange. These players do play at a pretty brisk pace, so we'll try to keep up with them as we get underway. Looks like Hafner is going down to 6. Engel has kept a 7.
Already a good start for Josh Engel in his quest for eternal glory.
Is he getting entombed or something? Is he a pharaoh?
I mean, he might be.
After this match, we'll put him in the ground.
Yeah, you'll have to talk to the Egyptians about that one.
Yeah. All right, Hafner going down to 5 in the finals. It's a tough start, but I think this double grief opener that you can get really makes up for a lot of those potential mulligans and can really strip your opponent of relevant interaction as well as combo pieces. So I wouldn't count Hafner out yet, even on this mold 5.
Yeah, either a double grief opener or an unanswered Ragavan. Those are the two
Yes.
things I'd be looking for were I in Chris Hafner's seat.
Ragavan connects, reveals, Ren 6, game over. That's what I want.
Unfortunately for him, there's a lot of good early answers to Ragavan in this deck. Can Prismatic Ending or Bolted on turn 1, can Binding or Ren and 6 it on turn 2. But instead, we have the best start.
Okay.
Grief Scam ya.
Man, we just have it. We just have it. That's what we needed. We got the ability to not dead after all, so we can take 2 of the following cards: Ren and 6, Creativity, Lightning Bolt. And then we have 4 lands of Beseiju, Double Dwarven, and Scalding Tarn. And it looks like we take the removal spell and the Ren and 6 with just the Creativity left over.
Yeah, so definitely had to take the Lightning Bolt because that answers the grief even with the Wicked Roll token attached to it. And then the real question was between Ren and 6 and Creativity, which one do you take? Creativity, the more powerful one, but Hafter does have another Thoughtseize back, so he can take that one this turn.
Yeah, it does take the Creativity, and now I think a land number 2 of Blood Crypt, but empty-handed, and now Josh Engel going to be in top deck mode, but
Yeah.
top deck mode's not so bad these days with all the fetch surveil lands.
Yeah, and he's got a few turns. I would say 3 turns. He is at 14, so it's technically a 4-turn clock, but you're going to deal yourself a little more damage probably over the course of this game. So needs to find an answer within the next 3 draw steps, I would say.
All right, doesn't bother with a surveil land. Going to go for Jetmir Garden to turn on a bunch of potential plays on turn 2, like Leyline Binding off the top, thanks to that other fetch land.
Yeah, definitely wants to be able to Binding this grief as early as possible.
Okay, gonna go back to Engel. That's a spell pierce. Ugh.
Maybe the worst draw in the deck.
Ugh.
Think I'd rather have another land.
See what Hafner drew? Voidwalker? Oh my. Oh no.
So the fetch going to bring Engel to 9 after he was attacked down to 10 by the grief. And that means the next attack brings him to 2. And the Wicked Roll token dying once you answer the grief is going to bring you to 1.
Which means your fetch lands are all bricked, which means your creativities don't work that well. But with 2 Dwarven Mines in the hand, I'm not sure that's that big of a deal.
Yeah,
But then every creature connecting is death.
Gonna be hard to come back in this game. Needs to find an answer to one of these threats right now.
See what the top card is. Puts in the graveyard, it's a land. Here's Voidwalker. Engel draws for turn. If it's a brick, it's game over. It's a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But he plays Besage as his land for the turn, so he can't get a Dwarven Mine online next turn to make an extra blocker.
He doesn't have another mountain. He just has 2 Dwarven Mines in hand, which would have entered tapped this turn. Had to play the Fable so he can ditch those Dwarven Mines and maybe find some answers.
Okay, has another Dothy Voidwalker, so Engel really in a bad spot. But if anything can get you out of it, it's Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Lightning Bolt, the draw, that's a good start, but I don't know what sequence of draws can get him out of this. He needs 3 answers. All 3 creatures on the battlefield are lethal. You know,
Has
find some
Binding Bolt.
He can answer 2 of them, but the draws off the top this game, too good for Chris Hafner. Might have started with the 5 cards, but this one looked easy.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Engel's face. You know, he knows that he's so close, but the draw from Hafner, even on the mold of 5, was so brutal. And the Dead Spell Pierce draw and a couple of lands, and even the draw to a Fable, not enough.
And while Engel was drawing bricks off the top, Hafner was drawing hot fire.
Might be the fastest finals we've ever seen. Chris Hafner takes game number 1. Now, as Josh Engel looks to go backs to back skis this weekend, we're going to take a look at his sideboard to see if he has any help against this Rakdos scam deck. I mean, you got to need some help if you're losing against moles to 5.
I would say so, and in his sideboard, he's got some good ones. It starts with 2 Alpine Moon, then we have a Elishnorn Grand Cenobite, then 3 copies of Pick Your Poison, 2 Stern Scolding, 1 Strike It Rich, 3 Surgical Extraction, 1 Terastodon, and 2 Veil of Summer. I like the Stern Scolding. This is a very good piece of interaction, not only against early griefs, but also Dothy Voidwalker and Ragavan. I like the Veil of Summers. It's excellent against all the discard, and can potentially protect one of your Archon of Cruelties from something like a Molten Vortex. So the Veil of Summers should be coming in as well. The rest is all speculative at best. The Strike It Rich has some applications. This is a heavy removal matchup, so targeting your dwarves might be difficult to resolve creativity. You might want more artifact targets. The Elishnorn is kind of interesting. There's a lot of creatures that it kills, but it is ultimately a 4/7 that easily dies to something like a Terminate or a Shieldred's Edict. So I personally would lean away from bringing in those cards and just go for the Veils and Stern Scoldings, but Josh has proven himself this weekend to be a master of the archetype, so we'll see if he agrees or disagrees with my assessment.
On the other side of things, Chris Hafner on Rakdos Scam. This deck got a Fury band recently, but still kicking and screaming and maybe sending him home with a trophy and $1,500. What's he got on the sideboard to help make that a reality?
Well, his sideboard is 2 copies of Blood Moon, 1 Bone Crusher Giant, 2 Engineered Explosives, 1 Fatal Push, 1 Legion's End, 3 Leyline of the Void, 1 Magus of the Moon, 3 Pick Your Poison, and 1 Shieldred the Apocalypse. I like the moons, in particular the Blood Moons. Magus of the Moon a little weaker because it's so easily answered by Lightning Bolt. But the moons, really mess with this deck's mana base. Even though all its lands are mountains because of Dwarven Mine, there aren't that many red cards, and if you turn off the Dwarven Mines, the creativities become difficult to utilize, and I don't think Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Lightning Bolt are going to carry any games. So those are good. Generally, spot removal not as good, so I doubt extra spot removal is going to come in. But the interesting card here is Engineered Explosives. Now you can run it out on X equals 0, and then creativity becomes very difficult to resolve as long as you have 2 mana up.
Yeah, I'm not sure I love that gameplay, but it is a desperation type of thing. I just don't think that you're that desperate.
Yeah, it's a question of how much space he has. The spot removal is pretty bad. There's 3 Fatal Push and a Lightning Bolt in the main deck. You could leave in some number of Terminate or Shieldred's Edict to answer Archons once they enter the battlefield.
Edict's but I would pretty good against Wrenn and 6 as well, though.
Yes. So your removal spells that answer Planeswalkers are definitely staying in, but with 6 non-Planeswalker removal spells, there's probably some room to bring in a couple of those EEs.
All right, players here about ready to start game number 2. Finish sideboarding and are shuffling up and drawing their openers. Engel going to be on the play. We'll see if he's going to keep his 7. And then same for Hafner.
I'm sure Hafner would like to keep 7 this game, even though he won on 5 cards in game 1. But it is Engel's turn to take them all again.
All right, let's see if Hafner likes the opener or wants to maybe aggressively mulligan. I see a good mix of lands and spells. I see a Fatal Push in hand. Maybe leaving in a couple of those pieces of removal to stop the Dwarven Mine tokens from being targeted by creativity, but I never felt like that was a winning proposition.
No.
It's just tough because they just eventually make some sort of treasure or have 3 targets, and it's like, oh, this Fatal Push is just rotted in my hand the whole game. I wish this was anything else.
And the more you trade resources, the longer the game goes, and the more copies of those cards that they find. So, you may have temporarily stalled it, but you've done nothing to really move you closer to winning the game.
Okay, Ingle draws an over that looks okay. We're going to put back Archon in the bottom, and that's definitely where it needs to be, not in the hand, and going to be underway here for game number 2. Bloodstained Mire and a pass. Injuring Explosives is the draw from Hafner, so does have that protection, and now has a good start here with a turn 1 Ragavan, and if Ingle doesn't have an answer, could run away with the game, but he has plenty of those in his deck.
Yeah, looks to have a Lightning Bolt, a Creativity, and a Leyline Binding in hand, so 2 removal spells for an early Ragavan. I imagine the Lightning Bolt will be used.
See if we want to bolt it now or fetch some sort of tapped land and then bolt it next turn.
Has a Stomping Ground in hand, so probably wants to get the Xander's Lounge or Jetmir's Garden. Yeah.
He's Jetmir pilled. Getting Jetmir every time.
It's wants to get the white source for the Leyline Binding there. So
and then we can fetch second land tapped.
Yes.
Play Binding. Okay. Turn 2. It's Fairy Time Raveler the draw.
A little awkward now that we've gotten Garden, but I guess Xander's Lounge would leave you short white. So Engel gonna need to find another land here. I think he has a Dwarven Mine naturally drawn as well. So he is off of blue mana. And doesn't really want to play the Dwarven Mine before he has another mountain. That was a Wrenn and 6. An excellent draw.
Tough. Felt like he was on the back foot there against this Orcish Bowmaster who's about to come down, but now has a little bit of a card advantage engine going, finds that land drop, so can maybe threaten creativity next turn, and Hafner going to maybe need to play defense with Engineer Explosives next turn and just hold up 2 mana for the rest of the game, which is honestly just horrible.
It is not ideal, but you do have the Bowmaster down to pressure this Wrenn and 6 and then pressure Josh. Ooh, that's an answer. A Blood Moon off the top for Chris Hafner.
2 damage at Wrenn. No responses. Do we have the 3rd land? No, just Engineering Explosives.
Oh, no.
Rough stuff. I think I did see another Bowmaster, though, so maybe we're just going to sit back and make sure we don't lose creativity, but then kill the Wrenn 6 next turn.
I think I see a Thoughtseize in hand for Hafner, too, so really needs to draw some lands so we can start deploying his cards effectively, and the threat of creativity really doing a lot here for Josh Engel, forcing Hafner to use what precious mana he has in a very awkward manner.
We're going to go fetching likely a blue. My guess either Thundering Falls or the Triumph. Okay, we're going to get a Surveil. Hafner has protection from creativity right now, but he doesn't have protection from, like, winning the long game. And Engel's deck is very good at doing that. The Blood Moon is rather scary, but requires tapping out, and Engels might be able to answer it anyway.
Oof, a little awkward, milling an Archon there, so that is no longer eligible to enter the battlefield. Only 2 left in the deck.
All right, Engel says, I'm going to go after that. And he says, not dead after all. Going to grow the army, deal you 1, put a counter on the Bowmasters, and doesn't get the thing. And now Engels thinks maybe that the shields are down for a creativity for X equals 1. We know Hafner has Fatal Push in hand, and so his sideboard plan of having a couple little answers to the creativity for 1 really paying off. And now he gets to untap with a nice battlefield worth of creatures and pressure and an Engineering Explosives to protect himself against another copy of creativity.
That turn really a disaster for Josh Engel. You know, as an experienced creativity pilot, likely assumed that Hafner would be boarding out that spot removal, so the creativity was safe to go for. But Hafner on level 2 says, if you're going to aggressively go for it, then I'm going to leave in some of that removal.
All right, Alright, Teferi, Time Raveler in hand, as well as looks like Leyline Binding, but I believe we can only play one. Strike it Rich, I think, is the other card, and then maybe one other land. Not the best hand for Ingle. See how he wants to play this. Both these players making it to the finals. No slouches to the camera match.
So another Bowmaster's in hand for Hafner. Is that going to increase the clock by turn? No, the ping puts Engel to 12, and then you have 5 power in play with a 3/3 army and 2 1/1s. Oh no, but one has a wicked roll. So it does exactly increase the clock by
And you can kill your own
turn.
wicked roll with Enduring Explosives to deal the last damage.
Now a fetch too. So this is a 2-turn clock for Chris Hafner.
Okay. Rakdos Theater. Guess this is just described before we draw a card with Teferi. Maybe looking for a lightning bolt or something similar.
Finds a land.
A lot of those in the deck. Here comes Teferi. Oh, Teferi. Any responses? We have a Bowman, number 2. Deal you 1, put a counter on the army, and now, even if we bounce the army token and draw a card, we get to make a 2/2 army and deal 2 with the Bowmaster. So, do you even minus on anything? Do you just tick up? Kind of just like ticking up. Yeah. Bowmaster making Teferi look bad.
Yeah, it does not look great.
Could go strike it rich for treasure and then use that white source to play Leyline Binding, but yikes. But don't want to have to do that. Gonna go ahead and play the strike it rich just to make a treasure, and now we do have the thing active, the Leyline Binding.
Yeah, let's get in there for a 6.
Yeah, and this is a 2-turn clock, 6 damage. No, we're gonna take out the Teferi instead.
Okay. Do we have the 3rd land for the Blood Moon? That would lock up the game. Methinks. No.
Fable the Mirror Breaker, a nice pickup.
Fable, notably a card that can get around the engineered explosives, blocking creativity, because Reflection of Kiki Jiki is mana value 3.
Yeah, a little awkward though, because the draw 2 is the more powerful ability, and with 2 Orcish Bowmasters on the table, unlikely that that's going to matter too much. Oh, we're going to blow up with Engineering Explosives in response. It's going to kill our army and a lot of our pressure, but what it does is it also gets all of the targets for creativity off the table that are in play.
Yeah, so Engel there really leveraging what he's figured out in this match is that Hafner is going very far out of his way to try to stop creativity, leaving things like Fatal Push, bringing in Engineer Explosives, and putting him in a spot where he will be incentivized to make a relatively weak play in order to play around creativity.
Land number 3, the Find, Polluted Delta goes and gets basic Swamp. You have to imagine we're chomping at the bit to play a Blood Moon, but instead we're going to go for Fable the Mirror Breaker to match the opponents. And shields are down for a second. We're going to go back Ingle's way. A creativity for 1 is something that's maybe not that bad here.
Can't really afford to discard anything to this second chapter of Fable with the 2 Bowmasters on Hafner's battlefield. You'll just lose your Goblin Shaman for nothing.
I believe he drew an Arid Mesa. I don't know if there's any Surveil lands left in the deck. We can cast Strike It Rich from the graveyard on flashback, making some more treasure. Okay. Pass the turn. Chris Hafner in the driver's seat. Well navigated game so far.
So very close to winning this tournament and earning a trip to the Apex Invitational this November.
Ingle already got one. Chris Hafner wants one. Blood Moon and Grief down. Draws 2.
There's a Thoughtseize amongst them, so might fire that off first to see if the coast is clear for anything else.
Okay. Attack with the Goblin here. Get a treasure token. Ingle Not going to trade, maybe? Wants to find creativity to go for x equals 2.
Yeah, he realizes a big creativity is his only way of getting back into this game, so gonna make the plays that makes creativity most likely to be
Sacred
effective.
Foundry, the card in hand, not an Arid Mesa, and so thoughts he's going to brick, but good information for Hafner now.
Okay. Creativity, that's another fable.
Okay, Chapter 3 does transform into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. That in tandem with something could maybe get Ingle out of this, but
Fable will make another Goblin Shaman, so you can probably afford to trade one of them off for Hafner's Goblin token at that point. Keep your life total at 7, because you may need to pitch some cards to the second chapter of this next Fable to dig for a creativity, even at the cost of triggering these Bowmasters.
okay. Fable number 2 here for Josh. Going to make another 2/2 and pass the turn. Now the question, if you're Hafner, do you go ping face with a Bowmaster, or do you untap attack with some Bowmasters, see if there's a block, and then use it to finish off one of those 2/2s?
I am inclined towards the latter, and given how Hafner has played this match, I would imagine he is as well. Has always prioritized dealing with the creatures on the battlefield and trying to limit the potential for creativity.
Here's a Voidwalker. No responses. Okay, just going to attack here with the Goblin, and we're going to trade. The Dothy Voidwalker with Reflection and the Bowmaster in hand is a lethal attack next turn, but that's a big draw. Leyline Binding. We get to Chapter 2, the Fable.
Interesting. Probably need to binding the Voidwalker just because it can't be answered in combat, but the reflection is also really backbreaking with these Bowmasters.
Maybe he wants to wait until the Voidwalker is targeted by the Reflection, playing it really snug.
Yeah, buy himself one activation at least, along with trading for the creature.
Really tough spot for Ingle. But not out of it yet. Could find a way. Creativity off the top is pretty scary. We're going to discard 1. Now,
Wow.
the Bowmaster here.
Gango might be rethinking this. Maybe wants the Leyline Binding with the trigger from Fable on the stack. No, going for the discard.
Okay.
So 2 Bowmaster triggers.
Reflection down. In response, we're going to make a 2/2.
The Sacred Foundry, of course, gets exiled by the Dothy Voidwalker, as will this Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Okay. What was the pickup from the Fable? Josh Ingle not ready to show it just yet. We can attack with both of these goblins to gain some treasures. If it's a Archon, we can hard cast it. Looks like a white card, and I don't know what the other thing is.
Just sends in the copy that is leaving on the end step.
All right, just a land. Hafner here's got to go for the end of turn Bowmaster and attack with everybody, right? Says no.
Just the 2 Dothy Voidwalkers, one from Reflection in itself, along with the Bowmaster trigger is lethal, so doesn't need to show his hand just yet.
Gonna end turn fetch. Then go get the Raucous Theater and look at the top card. Such a new play pattern that you have to get used to. You got to make some neural pathways for it. Otherwise, you just forget about it sometimes. Bends a Shieldred. Holy. Looking for the kill this turn. Has a Grief. Can Grief to start. Grief to start.
Instead, runs into the Leyline Binding.
But we can sack it, and then we can cast Fable.
Why not?
Okay.
Players just making sure everything is proceeding properly.
Okay, so we can attack with the army tokens and the bowmaster. I think this is basically a force block.
It is, because this is, I guess, one short.
It's gonna fall to 6. Is that 2 more bowmasters in hand?
I think it might be. I think the fourth Bowmaster was the draw this turn for Chris Hafner.
Okay, so I guess we bowmaster shoot down one of the 1/1s. We let damage happen. After the chump block, take a couple more. And that goblin token's gone, and it's got to be creativity or bust.
And Engel with the treasures will likely do some chump blocking. Protects him not only from the fourth Bowmasters, but also from a lightning bolt. And the 2/2 isn't doing anything at this point, so might as well play around those cards. However, unlikely.
All right, Engel down to 4.
Here it is.
Ha! Oh! We got enough. Let's cast it. In response.
It doesn't really do anything.
Sure it does. It loses you the game. Chris Hafner is your champion with Rakdos Scam back from the dead just like Grief.
Yeah, proves to be the only person this weekend that can take down Josh Engel, and did it with relative ease.
Yeah, just really well fought there from both sides, and nice showing from Rakdos Scam. You know, we talked a little bit about on the car ride up here about how the banning of Fury didn't quite have the effect on Rakdos Scam as we would have liked, but the deck looks really fun to play with and against now. Like, it's obviously still very powerful. The double Grief early on, a very tough thing to beat, but the lack of Fury means that maybe we can go wide against it, but Bowmaster keeps that in check too. So
a lot of powerful cards still in that Rakdos archetype, and
all
Chris Hafner showing that it is not dead after all.
Go get my man. Jeremy.
Still have to congratulate Josh Engel on an incredible run here. First and second is what all the coolest players do at tournaments. First, a little bit gauche in my opinion. And we will bring Chris Hafner in. Well, welcome, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ross. Put on the headset.
You have now won this lovely custom Boseiju playmat.
This is beautiful. I'm excited to use it at all the upcoming Apex events we have coming here.
And I'm just glad that we got to give away 4 of them instead of having to give 2 of them to Josh.
Yeah, we can't have that happening.
Yeah,
you know? He's trying to collect his place, so I'm going to try and cut it while I can.
Yeah, getting a little bit too big for his britches. Let's get 4 people stamped with invites to the Invitational, which you now are, as well as the upcoming regional championship. So, you and Rakdos, is this a deck that you've been playing for a while? Did you pick it up as it has been, sort of resurgent in the last month, or?
So I definitely saw it on the come up recently, on the Magic Online results recently, and I was kind of between it and the 5-color Domain Zoo deck. I thought both of them kind of do a good job of capitalizing on just quick starts, putting your opponents in situations they don't have a lot of time to come out of. But I found the Scam deck to have a better overall matchup spread and less reliant on cards like Leyline of the Guild Pack, so I went with that, and I decided to put some Pick Your Poisons in the sideboard for the people going for the domain aspect, kind of.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and we definitely saw you putting your opponents under the gun very early. Even game 1 in that finals on the mulligan to 5, had the early Grief Scam start, followed it up with some Voidwalkers off the top, and made quick work in a game where you started down 2 cards, and then the Bowmasters there doing the heavy lifting in game 2. So congratulations once again, and we hope to see more of you here on the Apex Tour. We'll definitely see you in November for the invitation.
Thank you, Ross. I look forward to seeing you guys some more as well.
Awesome. Okay, let's get Todd back in here, and we can wrap up what has been a long but excellent weekend here at the Apex Home Store in Caldwell, Ohio.
Congrats. Thanks. Good job. Thanks.
Oh, hi. We started today with 78 players. We whittled it down to 1 crowned a champion, Chris Hafner, on Rakdos Scam. Rakdos Scam, not as dead as everyone said. Weird.
Yeah, not dead after all. Still a very powerful deck. Proved it through the day. 2 copies in our top 8, and it walks away with the title, with the playmat, with the invites, and with a lot of cash.
All right, well, before we go, I just want to say a big thank you to the Huck brothers. Taryn Huck is our esteemed director, and really went through the ringer this weekend, fighting off a cough. And we apologize if you heard that in the background, but we really appreciate his hard work as well as his hospitality here for inviting us up. And thank you so much to the big boss man, Kevin. I'm just so fried, man. Kyle Huck. And
I'm gonna call him Kevin from now on.
Kevin Huck, yeah, he's gonna roast me for that. Holy man, I'm so brain dead right now. Anyway, thank you so much to the Huck brothers, the co-owners of Apex Gaming. Thank you so much to the wonderful staff here, the players for coming out and their patience today as we work through a couple of minor issues. Thanks to the players who came and just fought hard for 2 straight days for some cash and prizes and put on a show for everybody at home on Twitch.
Yes, thank you to our wonderful sponsors, Ultimate Guard, the leader in gaming supplies, and gives us a lot of swag at these AIQs to give out, from Katana and Cortex sleeves to Sidewinder deck boxes. We also have Wings Etc., where Todd and I will be very shortly.
I can't wait. I'm so hungry.
And we have SpiceRack.gg running our tournament software. So thanks to them for helping us put this tournament on for the fine folks here in Caldwell, Ohio. And we got one more sponsor whose name I can't remember. Who's the energy drink?
Ghost
Energy drink. Yeah, it's been a long weekend. We're tired, but Ghost gives us the energy to keep going through all these many hours. So thank you to them as well. And our heartiest thank you to those at home watching.
Ross, thanks for being in the booth with me. Appreciate your insights. Your expertise in a lot of these situations is something that I know a lot of people cherish, and I appreciate you.
Yep, I will. We'll see each other again here next month. May 17th to the 19th is the next Apex Con. So if you watched this weekend and said, that seems like a lot of fun, try to get down here for that. Otherwise, you can watch at home. Todd and I will be bringing you all the coverage of that the same way we did here. Same time, same place, 11 a.m. start time on Saturday and Sunday for 2 Apex Invitational qualifiers, and we'll continue to punch tickets to that Invitational in November.
All right. Well, folks, it's going to wrap it up here for us. Good night, and God bless Caldwell, Ohio.